All right, here we go. I've had to do a little bit of playing around with my mic, so hopefully this is going to work fine. But yeah, I'm just working on the getting started guide. I don't know, this is going to be a very fun video, live stream to watch, but I thought, hey, I might just sort of like live stream the whole process. It might be cool to like look back one day. Um, and I'll probably do a bit of chatting along the way about my thought process behind writing these kind of, creating these kind of videos. Yeah, so I think this might especially be good for other people that want to become content creators and get an idea for my process for creating a video series. And yeah, currently in this video, we're going to be working on the getting started guide. So, where was I up to? Gosh, I need to like start opening some things up now. Here we go, getting started. I like to try and keep everything sort of organized on the left here. And so what I'm doing is I'm basically writing markdown files for each of these sections. And then I've got this to-do.txt, and that's going to show on my other screen. The hard thing about streaming is that I kind of have to show everything on the same screen. But yeah, so this is my to-do list of things, and I'm kind of like, I've written down a whole bunch of ideas for things that could be in the Getting Started guide. And then I've started going through them and building it through an app and like adding them to this, this sort of to-do list. Yeah, so currently I'm on boot files, and in my boot file part, I wanted to teach people how to like do different stuff with boot files that are common. Because, this is a common question. So I'll start off with the Axios example that Quasar gives you out of the box. So I probably won't, I don't know if I'll build that myself or just show them the one that's already implemented. And then we'll go ahead and have a look at some of our own, like, I'll use a login one, plugin for i18n, we'll like build that ourselves. A boot file for view directives. I'm thinking maybe vvalidate. That's what I was just up to before I started doing this live stream. So let's have a look at how I might get that running with Quasar and maybe include that in this getting started guide. I honestly almost never, ever use any directives. So it's kind of hard for me to think of a good one here. Since I just think, usually directives are not a good way to solve a problem except for some very rare edge cases. So anyway, let's go ahead and see if we can get vvalidate installed. And I have to use the next to get us onto the right version of Vue. I think I might have, yeah, it looks like I've already done that behind the scenes. So let's see how they tell you to use it. I'm pretty sure you use it just like you would any other directive. Unless this is a plugin that does directive stuff. In fact, I bet you that's what it is. So it's not actually a directive, it's a plugin. Okay, so you can deal with declarative components. Oh, is there a way to... I didn't know you could do that. You can link things now in your examples. Oh, that's really cool. You can reference stuff on GitHub with in your README examples. It looks like they might not even do the directive approach anymore. Yeah, they might have like gotten rid of it because, well, no one's really doing the directive approach anymore for most things. All right, well, let's go ahead and look at their docs and see if it says anything in there. Heads up, Yep, okay. So this is for the Vue 3 one, 10-minute tutorial. Let's have a look at that. Set up. Let's say v dash. Maybe there's an upgrade guide that will like point me in the right direction for that. Yeah, yeah, okay. They're doing this using their own input field now, so I won't be able to use vvalidate. What's a good, if anybody's watching this and can think of a good example of a directive I can use, preferably something super simple that's going to make sense in the context of a Quasar, of a to-do application. So I'm just going to like go through the Vue awesome directives and see if I can find one. What else did I have? Responsive dashboard. It doesn't make sense. I just opened this because I thought it was cool. You can make your own responsive dashboard. Oh, there we go. Here's my... I think I'm just going to... I'll get rid of that in a second. Yeah, this is pretty cool. Just something I was like playing around with. I got distracted because I thought this looked really awesome and something that I might use down the line. Really intelligently built. I love it. Anyway, I'm getting distracted again. So, okay, the other one I looked at was Vue Draggable. Once again, this is using a component. This is not a directive. Get rid of that. I want to see awesome view. There was one that resizes text, but honestly, it's just kind of, I can't think of a good use for it. These are probably tutorials. Yeah. So let's see if we can find one. That's view 2. Directive tooltip. Quasar already has its tooltip, so I'd feel weird showing that as an example. Image orientation. Automate adjust your image to correct orientation. Maybe? Not really useful in a to-do app, though. For parallax effects on an element. No, Quasar already has parallax stuff. That would be weird. No, that would be weird as a directive. That's for view 2. Maybe this. A clipboard directive. All right, let's take a look at that. Don't like that image. Let me just like cull some of these pages. I'll probably leave that open. Get rid of vvalidate. Important thing when you're exploring stuff, always cull pages you don't need anymore to keep your mental clutter low as possible. All right, so... Oh, sorry, I got an alarm that's going off telling me to get my my muffins out of the oven. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. Got the muffins out of the oven. Delicious, delicious apple cinnamon deliciousness and walnut muffins. All right, so it looks like it's just called vClipboard. Yep, there it is there. It's kind of a cool name. So let's come over here and we'll say yarn add vClipboard. I'm going to rename this boot file to vClipboard, so it's the exact same name as the thing that I'm installing. And let's change this to vClipboard. And then this to vClipboard. All right, so that should install the vClipboard direct. Okay, but they're using use here. So let's just say use. And then maybe I would explain to them as I'm doing it. You know, you would say app.directive. If you were if you were creating your own directive, I could kind of explain it like that. So let's go ahead and see if this is going to work now. Whack this over on the side. Where's our app? Probably have to restart that. And now it's called vClipboard. So let's go to quasar.conf and it's vClipboard. And I guess like this could be a good example for our to-do app because, you know, maybe you want to copy a to-do. I don't know, when you click on it. What's going on here? Something is not working. Can I set $ clipboard of undersigned? Okay, let's see if I'm... So it looks like it's picking this up. Let's just see if we're installing it properly. I'll leave that open just in case. Looks like that's exactly how they're installing it. And then view.use should be the exact same as saying app.use. The other thing to check is this view 3 compatible? Let's have a look. We'll maybe jump into probably the issues and the pull requests. That'll give us a good idea. Here we go, view 3.0 compatibility. Doesn't work, which is now an RSC. I'm supposed it's going to be really... okay, that was a little while back though. So maybe this project's dying. Damn it, that sucks. The other thing to do is check the branches. They might have like a next branch for view 3. Maybe tags. Nah. Bugger! Looks like we might not be able to use this with View 3 yet. Oh man, I just need like a really basic directive example. If anyone can think of anything, then feel free to let me know. How about we look for clipboard, view clipboard 2, v clipboard. That's the one we just looked at. That's Vue.js 2. View copy to clipboard. View 3. Okay, this mine might work. Looks like it's View 3 compatible. Let's go ahead and add that. Come over here. And let's import it like so. Copy text. Oh, I don't know about that name. Anyway. Let's change it to caps. And then we can just use it. Am I in the right docs here for the boot? Whoops, for the boot file? Yep, and this is how they recommend doing it, I'm pretty sure. Use. Yeah, app.use. And you just pass it in like that. All right, but look, it looks like they're doing it the more composition API kind of way of doing it. Oh no, he's not. He's just saying use and then the name of the plugin. All right, well, let's give this a try. We'll whack that over there where it looks like we're using it here. And now let's check the docs of how you actually, oh, better refresh the page, see if it still works. All right, now what's happening? Recreated of undefined. Oh, the other thing is, I'm pretty sure that I'm still using this the same way. Yep, v clipboard. Man, not getting a lot of luck so far. Everything's just not working. Yeah, that's all I should have to do, just to say use. This has already been done behind the scenes, so that's our app there. And it looks like this might not even be a directive anyway. Oh, it's not. Ah! Honestly, maybe I shouldn't show a directive. I mean, why would I show this contrived thing if nobody's actually using it? I don't know. I'll do a little bit more research, see if I can find one. But if I can't find a legitimate directive for it to do app, then I'm not going to, like, you know, try and put a square peg into a round hole. No. Actually, a good use for one would be a user account control. V-fetch. Oh man, that's weird. I don't know if I'd ever want to fetch with a directive. Who knows? Simple BEM. Directories adding BEM class. No. Don't want that. Author. Under protect. No. Maybe V visible? Maybe? That's already in Quasar. That would be weird. A life cycle directive. That's kind of interesting. So you could hook into life cycles through a directive? See, these like keyboard related stuff probably make more sense as a directive. Directive match heights. To blur an element dynamically. V visible. Yeah, okay, I don't know. Let's have a look at this one next. Yeah, look, this still feels really weird to me. Like, why would I use that in a to-do application? We've got all that functionality anyway. Now, I've decided I'm not going to show. I'm not going to just try and, you know, like smash an example just for the point of it into our application. Weird. Doesn't make sense. Smooth view bar. No. Weird. That's all scroll related. Not visible, no. Maybe autofocus? Like that's kind of... Nah, because you've already got attributes anyway on Quasar, so it'd be weird to use that. No, it's bootstrap related. Yeah, okay. We might even create our own directive like super quickly. Yeah, okay, let's have a look at the view docs and see what they do for directives. Focus on the M. Okay, that's like a super basic example. Yeah, I don't. Okay, this is going way too far. If we're to getting started guide, I don't think we need to go that deep into directives. So I'll just quickly show people how to do it. And then I'll just be honest and say, look, for the most part, you're not going to be using directives in a Quasar application. It's, you know, if you reach a crazy edge case where you need to use it, this is how you use it. So let's then go into, oops, that big screen. So we'll just say app.directive, and then you can pass a directive straight into there. I'm pretty sure you can do that. Oh, maybe you can't. So how about this? We just say app.directive, and then we could say like directive name, and then my directive. So we'll just give them an example of how you would use a directive, but we're not actually going to use any directives because it doesn't make sense. So that's what I'll do to cover directives. Okay, plugin i18n, that's what I'm going to do for the plugin. A brief explanation of how you install that. So let's come here and I'm going to quickly do that for my own sanity to make sure I can do it. And then I might copy paste some of that into my markdown file so I can easily reference it when I'm building the video. All right. Here we go. We can set it up manually. It looks like we just add it in like that. We need to use the next flag currently. So I'll have to let them know that they probably won't need to use that next flag. Once that's installed, this is all of the code to actually start using it. And I can explain that along the way. So I guess I'll just practice that quickly now. So let's say, for example, we want to install Quasars. Let's just say, for example, we want to use i18n, the international plugin with Quasar. We could say Quasar new boot, and we'll call this i18n. Like that. So now we control click here, we can jump into that boot file. So let's go ahead and import i18n. But first, we're actually going to have to install it. So we can do that by saying yarn add view-i18n. And we're going to have to add the next flag for now. But if you're in the future and the later version of i18n is not on the next branch, you won't need to add this next flag in. So let's go ahead and install that. And then once that's installed, we can go ahead and import it. So we'll be able to do that by saying import create i18n. Am I doing that right? i18n? Yep. From view-i18n. All right, so now we've got the plugin that we're going to use. We can then say import messages from source/i18n. What's messages? What does that do? Oh, okay, so that's pulling in everything from the source i18n folder. So that's that one here. Index. Okay, then that index then points to all of your all of your files. Okay, so in this example, messages would be pointing. Oh, this is too. Nah, this example's too. It's too involved. It's too involved for a getting started guide. I want to keep this super simple. So let's change it to another plugin. This is why I practice it rather than doing it on the fly. Plugins. In fact, this probably is something for the View Awesome page. Do they have a link to it here? Yep, here it is. All right, so let's look for plugins. Creating custom no Vue.js. What's a Vue plugin that I actually use and that I like? Oh, there's not a lot for plugins. Even though most Vue projects are plugins. Vue Tetris. What's this? Huh. What? Huh. Alright, got distracted. Midora. What is a plugin that I would use? The other thing to do is have a look at boot files, because I think they have some examples in the docs here. Yeah, an example. So they use i18n as an example, but I want something even simpler. It needs to be something really snappy where I can be like, blah, blah, blah. You just use the plugin and then it works or whatever. Because i18n is a kind of a more involved example. Let's just search for inspiration. Vue plugins. Vue 3 plugins. Alright, not finding much there. If anyone can think of one, like a good example of a Vue. Oh, what about Chart.js? Maybe? No, even that isn't a plugin. You pretty much just import things as you need them, I'm pretty sure. Okay. Keep scrolling down. Draggable, maybe? Vue dialog drag. That could be a good example. A Vue component that creates movable, draggable, resizable, scalable, rotatable. Yeah, okay, that's a bit overkill. I'm curious what this is. I don't need it, but I'm curious about it. Query builder. What? Query builder for what? Interesting. What does it do? Gosh, I get distracted. I really want to know what this does, though. Okay, here we go. Query for what? Sector rule. And I don't know. Okay, getting too distracted. Let's jump out of that. View dialog drag. I think I just want something that's a draggable component, though. Oh, how about this? View draggable. That sounds right. Dragular. Drag and drop. So simple it hurts. That sounds perfect. And do we support Vue 3? Okay, there's a next branch. That's for ordering things. So this could be particularly useful. Actually, do we have drag and drop? No, I know Quasar might introduce something like this down the line, but they don't currently. All right, so let's go back here. Not dialogue drag. Maybe view Dragula though. I'm really liking this. Okay, that's kind of cool. It's just a funny name. Okay, so I'm guessing that the pre-release is the one that supports 3. Wait, hang on. So this is the whoops. Oh no, what have I done? Oh, I've gotten out of it. Oh, well, let's have a look at sortable. All right, this looks handy. Let's just go ahead and install it. Man, I'm just going to smash through these like one at a time until we finally find something that makes sense in the context of this project. Once again, though, this is a component. It's not something that we're using. See, this is the thing. Like, you don't really use plugins much anymore these days. Oh, it's my phone going off telling me it's my last chance to have coffee. So maybe I do the exact same thing with use. I just tell them, hey, you'll pretty much rarely ever want to do this, but this is how you do it. Maybe tip tap. I use tip tap all the time, so I wonder if that. Once again, though, I think this is just one of those components that you just pull in. Yep. All right, so I can say, for example, if you were to want to use something, you would do it like this. You would pull out app, and then you'd say app.use, and then my plugin. So that's how we'd go about installing a plugin. And if we wanted to install a directive, we could say app.directive, and then it would be like the name of the directive. So my directive, and then my directive. So that's how you would do it. That's how you would install a plugin using app.use, and that's how you would install a view directive using app.directive. So whenever you see app here, just think of it as our instance of view. For example, view.use. So instead of view.use, we say app.use, and then the name of the plugin, or app.directive as opposed to view.directive. Okay, so that's something that often stumps people, knowing how to install plugins and directives. But honestly, for the most part in a Quasar project, you'll never actually do this because Quasar has most of what we need out of the box. So how about this? We say, this might be a good example for me to like mess around with. Import, we'll say my plugin from wherever. And let's get rid of that to make this example super small. And now throw that into my markdown file and then move on. I don't want to get stuck on this for too long. Whoops. Hang on, this is for plugins. So let's say plugins and directives. All right. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'll be able to explain that really quickly. This is great. It's going to keep the video shorter, and I'm not going to spend too much time doing other crap that isn't really important. All right, so we can get rid of all of that. Base components. So I want to show them how to install base components. So let's just say that you want to have your own component. Oh, let's just get this browser up. Blah, 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 blah. Now I have to go to quasar.conf and then get rid of this nasty thing. And let's go to boot/v clipboard and delete that. Sweet. Is it going to work now? Created. Let's try closing this and opening it again. IE10N, am I already doing that? Oh, okay, let's delete that as well. Get rid of that. Cool. All right, so the next thing I want to demonstrate, the next thing I'll demonstrate in the video is base components. So what I might do is I'll probably just create a really basic base component. I don't know, what's a really basic base component? My favorite one is the dialog button component. So let's see if I can build that super quickly. So we can say Quasar new component, and let's call this B. I usually prefix my base components with a B, and we'll call this dialog button. And this is a pattern that I like to follow a lot. So now I can say here, for example, Q button, and that's going to create a button, V bind adders to make sure all the attributes are passed through to this button. And then we'll have some content in there by saying template. And then by default, okay, so if I throw something directly into this button when I use it, by default, it's going to throw straight into here. All right, and I might wrap that in a Q card as well. Q-card. This just makes it a bit easier to play around with. Okay, so what we can then do, then I'd also have to tell them that this is going to be a Q dialog. So Q dialog. However, the pattern, I think the pattern they use is, yeah, camel case here. Not camel, snake, whatever it's called. The one with the dash. It's not snake either. The one with the dash. Okay, so Q dialog. And I want to make this as simple as I possibly can. So @click equals show dialog is equal to true. And how about we say const show dialog is equal to a reference to false. I don't know, it's already starting to feel complicated. Bit much for a getting started video. Import ref from view. I guess this is a good example, a good opportunity to show a bit of the comp API. Sorry, I joined late. Can anyone explain what is... Oh, yeah, sure. Basically, I'm creating a getting started guide. And this is just me working on that getting started guide. I'll be honest, it's not going to be the most exciting stream, but it gives you a chance to see my process for creating a video series. So basically, I've got a folder. Where is it? I don't even know where my folder is. This is my getting started guide folder. Each folder is for a new video. Currently, we're up to boot files. And I'm currently doing the video on boot files. So that's what I'm working on here. So right now, if I jump into my Markdown here, first I'm going to show them, the user, how to use Axios with a boot file. And then I'm going to show them user login logic. So like imagine that we might want to check if the user's logged in using the store. And if they're not, then make an AJAX request to try and fetch the user, you know, that kind of thing. Then we're going to look at how you would use a plugin and directive in a boot file. Are you going to upload it on GitHub? Yeah, probably when I finish the video series. So what I'll do is throughout the video series, I'll keep committing changes and pushing them to GitHub as we go. So as you watch the video series, you'll then be able to like click on the link to see the commit of the end of that video. Yeah, so plugins and directives. Now I'm going to do view base components. So that's kind of what I'm at now. Just kind of nutting out how I'm going to do demonstrate how to do base components. So we're going to import ref from view. And then we've got this reference to show dialog. When this is clicked, OAuth is going to implement in this. Honestly, because this is a very rudimentary getting started guide, I'm not even going to actually authenticate the user. The idea is we're going to build out the entire application. So I'll show you what it looks like in a second. I've currently got some errors in the console. But we're going to build out an entire to-do application. And then when we're done, we're then going to hook it up to a backend. Um, so I've actually built out my own backend that is freely available. So we'll build it out with my freely available backend that's sitting on the web. And then we'll implement our own backend. So we'll swap that out, for example, with Firebase or with Laravel or with whatever people are using these days. And so we can basically create the to-do app together, but then you can choose what to do next, like which backend you want to watch a video on. Hopefully that all made sense. But yeah, like I said, today is just my chance to sort of run through it all, to sort of talk out loud. All right, so with my B dialog component, that's pretty much how it works. And I guess I could show, if we go to index.view, I need to get this working again. Why isn't this working? Oh, my podcast doesn't really have a schedule yet. um, but you can, I guess I need to have a way that people, I mean, you can follow it on Spotify. And if you want to watch my live streams, I'm pretty sure there's a way on YouTube you can set it up so that it'll alert you when the live stream, whenever I go live. I should figure out how to do that so I can show people. I'm not the best marketer yet. I'm just a coder, having a good time. All right, so what was I up to? Right, I'm getting distracted. My bad. So, cannot read property created of undefined. So it looks like maybe I'm doing something weird with created here. No, let's try just running this again. Jump out of there. Hopefully then I can actually show you guys what this app is currently looking at. Man, I got to admit, I'm a little confused here. Quasar.conf, did I save this? Yep, so we got Axios there. I'm pretty sure I didn't change anything here. So that should be fine. Oh. Draggable. I thought I got rid of all the draggable related stuff. Okay, so it looks like I tried to... I tried to use it there. All right, let's try this again. There we go. This is the app that I'm currently working on. Yeah, so at the moment, since it's a getting started guide, it's all basically UI stuff. Doesn't even do anything yet. But like I said, I've actually built out an entire backend so that people can experience using an API with Quasar. Then we will actually build the API ourselves and swap out that backend. All right. So let's see if we can get back on task again. So if we go to index.view, I might just like throw a button somewhere around here. How about we throw it after the page? So like q-button. Whoops. Okay, so there's that button there. And now if we say import B dialog button from components / B dialog button, there it is there. And then we can come down here and say components and use it there. And then I can change this to a B dialog button and then have a div in there that basically just says my dialog content. This is a pattern that I use all of the time. All right, so it looks like that isn't being slotted through. So let's jump into the dialog button and see what's going on here. Template. Instead of saying hashtag default, I should have said there, this is a slot. Slot with a name equal to default. Got all that backwards. And there we go. So so what I want to show people now is that if instead of importing this all of the time, so if you're using this B dialog button pattern all over your application, then what you might want to do is have that automatically imported. And so the way we would do that is remove the import here and remove it from components. And so naturally, that is not going to work now. All right, so notice that we've now lost that component. It's no longer working. However, if we now say quasar new, and then we say like register base components. Whoops, we want to call this a boot. So quasar new boot, and we call it register base components. What we can do is actually use that component when our application is first booted. So notice here that it says import something. So let's go ahead and import that base component. Import B dialog button from components/B dialog button. There it is there. Now we should be able to say app, and I believe it's .component. And I think we can just whack it straight in there. So let's go ahead and see if this works. Now we actually need to use this. So if I just copy that there and I jump into quasar.conf.js, here we go. Here's our, oh, what's this? That's sort of where you got him. Oh, nice. You might actually be able to do it this way. I don't know. I'll look into that later. Is it something like global components? Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what we're doing. We're creating global components here. So now we can say, this is what happens when we say register base components. Quasar.conf is going to notice that we want to use this boot file. Okay, and once again, a boot file is just a way to hook into Vue and all of the Quasar goodness. So basically to hook into the Quasar app so we can do whatever we want with it. So it notices we've got register base components, so it looks in boot and finds here register base components. Now what we're doing here is we're importing the B dialog button component, and then by saying app.component, we are putting B dialog button on the global app instance, so on the global instance of Vue. And once again, by saying app.component, that's just like saying view.component, like that, okay? These two are the same thing. All right, so let's save that now and see if it works, or if I just explain something that doesn't even work. It looks like that isn't working. So let's have a look at the docs, and I think things are a little bit different in Vue 3 now. Global properties. Man, I haven't registered a Vue component manually in a long time. Register Vue component. Let's just say Vue 3 here, just in case it's different. See if I'm doing that wrong. App.component. And I'm pretty sure you can just throw it directly in there. Yep, so that should be right. Let's come back here and close that. I'm going to close that. Let's cull some of these windows. Refresh that again. My dialog content. So it's B dialog button. That's what I called it. By the way, if any of, oh, maybe I actually need to go, because I didn't give it a component name. I need to name it there. Yeah, okay, that worked. So what I should do, so I don't need to do that, I think what you can actually do is say name, and we'll call it B dialog button. And I think that allows me to directly import it. Let's see if that works, or if I'm making this up. All right, looks like I'm making that up. So we need to have a string here to say how we use the component. Yep. Sweet. Okay, I'll be able to explain that now. So basically in index.vue now, notice we're not importing the B dialog button component. However, since it's already registered in register base components here, like we just described, we can now use this component all over our application without importing it. However, you want to be careful with this, because if you're importing too many components globally, then your app can get very, very bloated, and you can't do cool stuff like code splitting. But if you don't know what I mean by code splitting, that's totally fine. That's something for another day. So there we go. Let's click here, and that's still working. And now we can move on. And in fact, this create button here, now maybe we could actually use this. Oh no, because I'm using a plugin there. That's me describing how to use a plugin. So I want to keep that code. Yeah, all right. So how can I actually use this? However, I could do this after the fact. So it could be like, this is how you use a dialog button. And by the way, we can now replace this code with our dialog button. Yeah, I think I might do that. So let me just check that I ended up copying that code when I was talking about dialog buttons. That would have been in plugins. So let's go to that markdown file. Don't click. Yeah, that shows how that's handled. I think that's all the code I'm going to need. Yep. I mean, I might as well just show the markdown as well. Yeah, so let's copy that. And I'll come down here. This is going to be view. I can just whack that directly in there. So I can review that at a later time. Cool. Now that I've got that, I can play around with this code without worrying about forgetting what I did before. So let's jump into that markdown. Whoops, I'm in the wrong folder. Boot files. Okay, so then I can say to the person watching, and by the way, this B dialog button, we can actually start using it. By the way, this B dialog button, here's a cool way that we can use it. So I'm going to move it up here. Oh, I can explain this better. And by the way, a good example of where you would use the B dialog button is this fab icon over here. The one that when we click, it opens up a dialog. So what we could do now is let's take this B dialog button and let's throw it in here. And then what we can do is throw this content. And then what we can do is we can put the Q toolbar up here. And I'm going to copy all of the styling related stuff and just add it onto this dialog button that we created. So let's cut that, throw it in there, and I'll comment this out because we're going to need to use this method in a second. So I'll save that. And now notice that when I click on this here, oh man, that's messed things up. Bugger. All right, let's have another crack at this. And by the way, we can replace this button now with our B dialog button. I'll show you what I mean. So let's cut that, paste it in there, and I'm going to use all of these attributes and throw it onto our dialog button. But I'll leave this part here because we're going to need that method in a second. So let me just comment that out and we'll save that. And there we go. We end up with the same thing. However, notice that the content has changed. So what we can do now is we can say, for example, q-card-section, and then in here you would have your form. So usually your form would be a separate component, but for now we'll just say q-input, and that would, for example, model, I don't know, this is a great example. No, I don't like this example. I think I'd rather have like a logout button up here. Maybe a dialog button that allows you to log out. Yeah, because I don't want to show them something and not use it. I want everything to be used with a purpose. Yeah, all right, so let's come back, try that again. We'll have a little play here. So let's cut that, save it, and we're back to what we had before. Let's go to our main layout, and then to don't. So here we are here, and now I can come down here and throw in that button. And this could be a logout button. So I could say to them, we can now say icon is equal to MDI dash logout. Oh, actually, no, I'm not using material design icons. There we go, that worked. And then we'd say, for example, round, flat, and I'd set the color to something like white. Yeah, I reckon that looks pretty good. Yeah, so for example, a logout button, blah, 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 I'd show them that. And so when we click on here, we get this dialog. And then you could very easily say, for example, Q-button, maybe have a message at the top there. So let's say a H3. Are you sure you want to log out? Something like that. H3 is probably a bit big, so let's go to H5 there. And I'm going to wrap all of this in a cue card section because that adds a little bit of padding. And I can do that by saying Control-Shift-Enter, Q-card-section. That's a really fast way to wrap whatever you have selected. So let's save that. Click on it again. There we go. We've got a bit of padding here. However, it looks like having a H5 has added a bunch of margining at the top. So now we can come in here and say class equals Q-margin top none. And there we go. That gets rid of the margin at the top. And then we could have a label for this button. Let's keep it super simple. Yes. And then another one that says no. And maybe we'll add a bit of a margin to the right side of this yes button by saying class equals Q-margin right. And we'll make that medium. And since it's nice to make things... Hello, Luke. How's it going? Yeah, I'm doing really well. I'm just doing a getting started series in this video. I'm not actually doing the getting started series. This is me preparing to do the getting started series. And I thought people might be interested to see what my process is. So there we go. We add a little bit of a margin there. Would it be overkill to add color? No, I think people really like seeing a bit of a fuller process. So then I'll say, for example, now we'll set the color of this one equal to, how about primary? And then we can say secondary for the other one. Color equals secondary. And there we go. We've got our yes and our no buttons. And since we're using primary and secondary, they sort of fit the theme of the rest of our site. And there we go. If you were to say no, you'd probably want to close the dialog, but we can handle that in another video. Okay, so that's cool. I think I will keep what I just said then. So let's show this in its context. Copy that, save it, add that to my markdown. Where is it? View base component. Okay, so I'll probably have to show how I did that. I don't want to forget that. And this is, we'll make that a view file. And how about I just go to show that that's stuff at the start. I don't think I even need to do that. Yeah, we could just do this. I think that formatting is fine. All right, cool. So then I can I'll know then how to find the to don't part, and I'll probably just add here for my own notes. This is main layout dot view. That's how I found that. All right, so yep, that's where we'll use the B dialog button, and that's how we'll explain global components. And I think it gives people a good idea of how to wrap a component as well. Maybe I could even separate this. I don't know. Am I talking about too much in this video? I don't think so. I mean, we're dealing with smart people. By the time you get to here, you probably know a little bit about wrapping components anyway. If you're looking at a framework like Quasar. So, all right, there we go. Now let's have a look at the base components. And I call this register base component. So let's keep that file name. Register base components.js. Why there is so much of line spacing in VS Code. Yeah, some people love it, some people don't love it, that I have high line spacing. My philosophy around this is that if you have high line spacing, it means that you're more focused on one thing at a time when you're coding. And my philosophy is that you should always be searching for things and you shouldn't be looking for things. So I shouldn't be visually trying to find something when I code. I should be searching for that thing, and that's a faster way of getting there. And when I get to that thing I want to find, I should be just looking at that one thing. And I don't know if I explained that very well, but and if I wanted more space, honestly, I would just zoom out a little bit. But I rarely ever do that. I'm almost always just sort of scoped in so that I'm looking at one thing at a time. You know, like this is a great example. I've got all of my dialogue button related stuff sitting in my window here. And I think I would rather that. I personally would rather that than having low low line spacing and seeing more code. So that's what it is. For me, it's like a cognitive overhead thing. But yeah, if enough people don't like this, then I might end up getting rid of it, or at least making it a little bit smaller. But yeah, Jeffrey Way does this as well in Laracast. He's got quite high line spacing, so it's kind of a preference thing. It's weird because I'm so used to it, I don't even notice it anymore. It's just normal for me. Okay, what else? So we got register base components, and I wanted to just go into that file and just copy paste that in. And how about we say this is a JS file. So I think that'll be it for boot files. I show people how to use Axios in a boot file. I'll show them an example of login and you know, to check whether or not the user is logged in. That kind of logic, how you might do that in a boot file. I show them how to use plugins and directives, but we don't actually use one. It's just like, you know, sort of pseudocode. It's like less actually showing them what it looks like afterwards, simply because you almost never do that anymore these days. We usually you use composables or other techniques rather than app.use or app.directive. Base components, and I think that's it for that video. So I'm going to move on to the next one now. So after boot files, what will I cover next? Vuex. Is that too early? Is it too early to cover Vuex? What else have we got here? Wrapping components I've kind of already covered, but that's definitely something for a bit later on when we'll go a bit deeper. Directives, so that's different. That's Quasars directives. That's going to be an extremely short video. I might actually do that next, maybe. Typography, maybe not quite now. Exporting, I want to leave that till a little bit later on, because I'm likely to, I want to do this properly when I do exporting. I don't just want to be like, oh, here's how you export. I'd rather say like, here's like the different places where you can put code in for these different exports, and, you know, go a little bit more in depth for that. I don't know, it is a getting started guide. I have to keep reminding myself. Calling methods on components, is that really that important? Oh, yeah, it kind of is, because sometimes you have to do that in Quasar. But that is a later on thing. We'll look at some utility classes later. Utilities, and I'll put in here methods. I'll call that utility functions. And have I got utility classes? No, so utility classes and utility functions we'll call at some point. Oh man, we're gonna have to be we're gonna have to do like Flex related stuff sooner rather than later, because everybody always wants to learn about Flex and all that. Theme builder and layout builder. I decided to do that early on. So I might move this up the chain. And this is going to kind of sit here in layouts. I think I'm going to open the whole series with basically using the theme builder and the layout builder. Oh no, because this is where I wanted to go into more depth of how it actually works. Yeah, I remember now. So that is more advanced. I'll move that down here. Can we maintain Quasar 1 and 2 at the same time? What do you mean by maintain? I know that Quasar 1 is going to maintain for quite a while. You know, because Razvan is very dedicated to making sure that not backwards compatibility, that he takes care of people in past versions of Quasar. Excuse me. And there's actually not a big difference between Quasar 1 and 2, except the fact that we're using View 3, which there is a lot of difference under this, like behind the scenes, especially like things are typed, things are going to be faster. There's a lot of like behind the scenes improvements, but the API itself is actually quite similar, which is awesome. And thanks for mentioning that. I'm glad that I inspired you. That's really nice to hear. Let's see if we can triage this a bit more. Animations, that's definitely something for later on. View composables, definitely much later on. Icon Genie, yeah, that's kind of like moderately later on. So let's move that down here. App extensions, that's probably got to be sooner rather than later. API Explorer, I want to keep that kind of sooner rather than later. So this is going to show you how to... Why don't I just... I don't know why I've got them separate. Why don't we just install the icon picker? Yeah, okay. And I might just add a little comment in here. Mention we'll do another series because advanced. Another series on building, because building app extensions is definitely an advanced concept. You kind of need to know quite a few things to learn how to create your own app extensions. Middleware, this is probably one of those sooner rather than later ones. So I might sort of throw that up here somewhere. Checking platforms, they're really... Let's do checking platforms before... Should I do that before or after? No, we'll do exporting and then we'll do checking platforms, so we can basically test all the different checking platform stuff as we export. Languages, that's later. Icons, that's sooner? Yeah, it's pretty easy to do icons, and I think people would love that. API Explorer, sooner rather than later. That's just going to be a quick video where I show them the API Explorer. SEO, that's much, much later. This is like when we're getting into SSR land. We might even do like an SSR section. No, that will be a different series. In fact, you know what? I don't think SEO belongs in a getting started series. No, it doesn't. Now, what stuff can I cull here? So definitely not that stuff, because that's the kind of stuff I want to work on next. Suggestion, browser extensions, can we add it? Good question. Browser extension. Yeah, you know what? It's not that hard to show browser extension, the basics of browser extensions. I don't know. The problem with browser extensions with a getting started guide is there's like so many little bits and pieces of how you can do browser extensions. Like you can have it in a pop-up, you can have it in your dev tools, you can hook into the browser, you can have it as something that pops up when you click on the browser extension as a separate app. So maybe I'll put browser extensions, but I'll put in parentheses here. Opens app in new tab. But I'll just have to let them know that there are a bunch of other things you can do in a browser extension. Yeah, I think that would be good, because then I can be like, hey, this is all the cool stuff you can do. You can do pop-ups, you can do dev tools, you can like hook into the UI with browser extensions of every single page. But in this example, I'm just going to show you using our app as a new tab. Yep. But what I might actually move that to a later one. I might move a few of these to a later one. So how about we do this? Yeah. How about we say BEX down there? I'll call this other exports. And we'll have here mobile and desktop. This, not desktop, I'll keep desktop there. Mobile, though, I'm going to throw down here because it is a little bit harder to develop with. Other exports. And then we'll say mobile and BEX. How about we'll do them as separate videos. I think that's a good idea. Yeah, so this is how you export to mobile using capacitor, and this is how you export to BEX. But earlier on, we'll do the very easy ones for developing where you don't have to do any other setup. Because running this in Electron or these other two options, I can just run a command and know that's going to work. That's not so much the case with these two. BEX takes a little bit of extra effort, so does mobile. All right, so that's good. I like that. What else? Now I need to triage these and decide what goes when. So maybe I could kind of go app shortcuts. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. PWA and show app shortcuts. So like show them how you can click on that little icon in the top right of your application. That sort of turns it into a shortcut. Some of you might have seen this before where you can like click on that and install the application. That's one thing you can do with the PWA. So that's how I know the Quasar docs are a PWA, because I can click on this and say install. In fact, a lot of people are no longer using Electron. They're just telling users to install their application as a PWA because they don't need the extra Electron stuff. In fact, maybe later on down this here, we'll say like advanced Electron, where you sort of tap on... No, that's a different series. Once again, I'm getting carried away here. Let's keep it simple. And honestly, capacitor and I don't know, maybe these are separate series. If we are going to have them in the beginner guide, they need to belong a little bit further down the chain. View composables, yeah. Okay, so let's have a look at triaging this now. Quasar directives, I'll cover that next. And I'll make that a little bit separate because I haven't actually done the markdown for it. Then we'll probably do Vuex. I don't know how to cover this. I don't know if I'm going to like show Vuex doing the entire app or just like the list part. I don't know. But we'll decide on that in a little bit. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Middleware belongs further down the chain. In fact, I'd pull it way down the chain to maybe like here. Checking platforms. So these belong directly after each other. Let's do one. Let's do typography before layout. What backend we are using for this project? I mean, database. Okay, that's a good question. I tried to explain this before, but I don't think I explained it very well. So if you go to, in fact, you can do this in your browser right now if you want. If you go to to-api.quasarcast.com/lists. All right, that one's not found. I can't even remember what it's called. What's that? To-do_lists. Yeah. So what I've basically done is I've created an API that anybody can use. So you could actually use this right now in your browser as you're watching this video. And if you go to that URL, it's going to do a GET request to get to-do_lists. Yeah, sure, I'll type that in the chat. So if I've actually built out an entire API so that nobody needs to, when you're doing this Getting Started series, you don't have to install anything on your computer. You don't have to do any of that crap. All you have to do is use this endpoint and it will just work. And I got this idea from typecode.com. So if you were to use Postman and do a post to that endpoint, you would actually be able to create your own to-do list and it would scope it to your IP address. So basically, if I were to create a to-do list and you were to create a to-do list, they would be they would be scoped to different IP addresses so that we don't end up with a conflict of data. It's a really cool idea that I came up with, if I don't say so myself. I think it's a pretty cool idea. In fact, I know I'm getting a bit off track here, but I'm going to go ahead and show you this because I think it's really awesome. But the idea is I want it to be stupid simple for people to get started with an API so they don't have to do any of the work on the API. We just focus on Quasar. And then when we're done, we actually go ahead and build the API ourselves. So check this out. Oh, that's a GET request. This should be a POST request. Yes, save and overwrite. So if I do a POST request to that endpoint, this is a endpoint that anybody can hit, and I send that through, I get an error. What have I done wrong here? Viewing console. Oh, sorry, I did .tests. This is my testing version of the application. Let's say .com. Let's run that. And there we go. That's actually created a to-do list that is scoped to my IP address. So now if I do a GET request to this, let's copy that, but change it to a GET request. Run that. Then I get those lists back. And then this data, to make sure that it doesn't get abused, I'm basically constantly purging outdated data. So if it's like over, I think it's like a week old, then I just purge all of your data in this API. So the cool thing about this is you have an API that you can play around with, that you can basically use when you're building this application. So what you can actually do is directly within the app, you'll be able to do stuff like this. This.$axios.get, hit that endpoint, and then that will just work. And you don't have to do anything on your end. It would just work. So yeah, I thought that was a really cool idea, and it gives me the chance to build an API. Like in the future, when I'm doing more advanced series, we can build out the entire front end and just focus on Quasar, and then we can build the back end ourselves later on. So that's the idea there. All right, so enough on that. Let's get out of that, and then move on to whatever I'm doing next. Yeah, so I decided on directives. I might do a little bit of typography next. So we might just like change like some of the weights of these fonts. Maybe make that, I don't know, bolder, make that thinner, just kind of like play around with that a little bit. Yeah, that'll be good. And that'll be super easy to do as well. So directives will be super short. Typography will be super short. And I think I want to switch between though easy and hard. So let's go directives, Vuex. Typography is easy. Layout is hard. Icons is going to be easy. And then we can move on to these two videos where we do exporting and then like checking what different platforms that we're on. Okay, sweet. So that's those. Then I'll talk about the API Explorer. And then I might do here SSR slash middleware. And I might just let people know that they can skip it. Skip if not interested in SSR. Nah, screw it. They can. People should know anyway. A lot of people won't actually know what SSR is. So SSR slash middleware. And then we'll do app extensions with the icon picker. But you know what? It might actually make sense to do this directly after doing icons. No, I'm going to keep that separate because they're completely different concepts. It just so happens that icon picker is the extension we're using. All right, now I need to triage all of this. I might do that later. Let's go ahead and move along. So we will have done boot files. And now let's do directives. Okay, so dealing with Quasar directives is pretty easy. Pretty sure you literally just like enable it in your .conf file and then it just works. Quasar directives, what have we got? We can check if something's swiped. The ripple is the easiest example. So let's go to quasar.conf.js. Directives, here they are here. So we'll comment that out and we'll add the one. And I think you can literally just say ripple. Does it need to be capitals? Yeah, it might have to be a capital R there. Sweet. So that's all you have to do. And then I'll just tell them that. Notice that when I click on these, we don't get a ripple effect. That's a bad example. Because a lot of these have ripple stuff already built into them. I'm pretty sure. Like, let's have a look at that. If I go to main layout and we go to our lists, I think I can just say ripple directly on here. Can I do that? No, that does nothing. So let's go to our API Explorer. Where is it? Here it is. And let's say Q item. And I'll search for ripple. All right, so it's not in the Q item. Maybe the Q item section. So this might actually be a good example of a ripple. You have an end-to-end point for graph. No, so I don't have one for GraphQL, but that's intentional. So the idea is we're going to do this very simply with a RESTful API, because that's going to be the most common example. Then the series is going to branch off. So once I've covered all of the stuff in this list here, this is all front-end stuff. We're not doing any back-end at all, but we will be using my back-end API so that the examples are full, so that the user gets a full experience building a to-do app. Then when we're finished, I will then basically split off and create different series. So the first one I'll do is Laravel, because that's the framework that I like to use, and that's the main framework that we'll be using throughout this, through most of my more advanced videos. Then we can do stuff like Firebase, Superbase, or I don't even know how to spell that, Superbase. What's the other one? You can do like Feathers. You can do something that's GraphQL related. I don't know what the most popular one is for GraphQL, but I'll find out. Like, what's that? What's the one that used to be GraphQL? GraphQL became Prisma. Yeah, so then I might have one for like Prisma. And basically, I'm going to re-implement the API that we were using for this entire series. We're going to re-implement it using these different frameworks. Yeah, Feathers is pretty cool. If Feathers covered, like, unfortunately, in a lot of the apps I build, Feathers just doesn't cover enough of my use cases. I'm not saying it can't cover a lot of my use cases, but there's stuff that Laravel can do very easily that I can't do easily with something like Feathers. But if I'm just building a UI and I don't want to rely on other services like Firebase, Feathers is so freaking cool and so easy to get up and running with. Like it's just amazing. I honestly think that people should, before looking into these other options, at least take a look at Feathers, because it's it really does bridge the gap between creating live data and a front end very easily, so you don't have to concentrate too much on the back end. But yeah, like I said, I tend to do some pretty heavy back end stuff, and Laravel makes that really easy for me. Like, yeah, stuff like handling jobs, handling policies, and all that kind of stuff in sort of like larger business applications. But who knows? Maybe someone's going to prove me wrong at some point. Actually, I should continue with these examples. If anyone can think of a good example of a backend they'd like me to build one for, then say something now. There's one that's like the name of a bird. JavaScript. Backend containers. I think it's got like a containers concept. No, I don't mean Docker container. Repository. Or like an IoT container. How about we just say JavaScript backend frameworks? Oh gosh, I'm gonna get all sorts of crap now. Or maybe Node backend let's go with Node backend frameworks. Yeah, okay, you'd have to do Express, even though I don't really want to. I'll do it. I probably won't do Ruby on Rails because I'm not confident with Ruby on Rails. It's not my framework that I understand well. So I might even leave somebody else to just take on my project and try and do it themselves. Can somebody help me here? What's one of those popular JavaScript backend frameworks or Node backend frameworks? Um, it's like, it's got the name of a bird or something. I remember hearing about Adonis.js. Is this the one that was, yeah, I think this is the one that was inspired by Laravel. Anyway, I whack it. Gosh, this is going to be too many. I won't have to, I really don't think I'm going to cover all of these, but I can find out what's the most popular. I'm actually going to jump into Discord and have a look at the channels in there. Oh, that'll be right. Now my Discord is updating. Man, I'm really annoyed at myself for not being able to remember this one. Somebody comment. What are the backend Node frameworks that you know about? There's a few of you there. I can see. Stop hiding. Send a comment. I'm just kidding. Do what you want. What have we got here? So there's a Feathers.js, there's a GraphQL one. GraphQL, I'll have to find something specific, which I think will be Prisma. Unless it's not easy. If Prisma isn't easy, then I'll come up with another one. But it seems to be like a popular one these days. Firebase, Laravel, I'm seeing. AWS Amplify, maybe not. I haven't seen enough popularity on that yet, but if there's enough people that say something, then I might check that out. Man, come on. Oh, Scott mentioned it. Let me just go to my conversation with Scott. Sorry, I know you can't see this. I just don't want to show private conversations behind the scenes. I probably shouldn't do that. um, give myself about 3 more minutes, and if I can't find this in 3 more minutes, I'll just move on. Come on. Ah. I like Express. Yeah, okay. I think a lot of people like Express, so I'll probably do it. To the best of my ability, I will try to learn how to do good Express code. It's hard when it's something that you're not very familiar with. But yeah, I think it's important. Oh man, come on. All right, let's do some more Googling. I could do stuff like Adonis.js versus Nest.js. That's what it's called. What's Sales.js? And then we got Fastify. Gosh, there's too many. Ugh. Nest.js, Fastify. And I think that'll do for now. That seems to be covering a lot of the common ones. But, you know, it's going to take a lot of bandwidth to cover all of this. So the order of that will probably be like Laravel, Firebase. I'd love to do Superbase, but it's going to have to be low priority because there's just not enough people using it. Feathers is very popular. People would definitely want something with GraphQL. In fact, I'll probably say GraphQL and then put in parentheses here, maybe Prisma, question mark. Express has to be up there. These ones are going to be lower. And if you know Adonis and you know Nest.js, there's probably a good chance that you have the knowledge to do this yourself. So that's why I have them sort of down there. Fastify, Superbase, all that kind of stuff. All right. I'm surprised that you guys are sticking around. You know, I guess people like watching me organize stuff. So where were we? We were doing directives. So I included the directive, and then you can say v-ripple. think that's literally it. And this is in the main layout. Why is that not working? That one. Oh, because I only put it on that one. Sweet. All right, that is a perfect example, and now we can move right along. So let's just... Oh, you know what? I don't need all that code. I'm not a dumb. I know what this means. So let's come into our markdown file, and this is going to be a really, really short one. We'll call this directives. Directives, and then I can come in here and say v dash ripple, and then I just need to know where I'm going to be implementing that. So let me copy that again because I think I lost it before. I need a hotkey to get to my markdown file quickly. That will be the extent of the video, and I'll say like enable in quasar.conf, and then I'll put in parentheses here ripple because it needs to be all capitals with capital R, capital with an A. I believe that's it. All right, so that'll be directives covered. That's going to be a super ridiculously short video, but I think people like that. Every now and then there's a video that's just like bam, and you get like this hit of woohoo. View used for hotkeys. That is not a bad example actually. View used for hotkeys. Where would I use a hotkey here? So maybe like Control C could open that create dialog. That might be a cool idea. Okay, let's see. View hotkeys, but it needs to be available for view 3 as well. Hotkeys. And I'll put in here view 3. Whoops. Let's have a look. V hotkeys 2.x. Is there a next branch? Oh man, this is the hard thing. People have not been super diligent about upgrading. I shouldn't say it like that. I'm not complaining. This is free. You know, people are doing this out of the goodness of their heart. We just need, if anything, I should be helping out maybe with getting people's components updated. What a beautiful landing page. Woo! Enter to get started. Nice. Okay, so it works well, but unfortunately it is not view 3. So let's go to issues. Yeah, I think Nest.js does use Express. I'm sure someone could quickly Google that anyway. View 3 support. Still not working. Really? Some people are claiming that it's working. File.view. Where's his component? Oh, here it is here. All right, well, let's just go ahead and see if that works. And this is called v hotkey. So we'll say yarn add, v hotkey. Whilst that's going, I can say quasar new boot, and this will be called v hotkey. Let's jump into that bad boy right there, and let's see how this is used. Don't need that. Don't need that. Throw this over here. Sweet. Oh man, this could actually be a perfect example. How do I say your name? Prashant? Prashant? Prashant. I hate that I butcher people's names. And now I should be able to say app.use. First we need to import it. So let's whack that bad boy in there. Save that. And it's called v hotkey. So quasar.conf plugins. It's not a plugin. It is a boot file. V hotkeys. No, hotkey singular. Yep. So that's worked. Now let's have a look and see if we end up with any errors. All right, so that looks good so far. And how do we use it? We just say v-hotkey and then the key map. So let's have a look what the key map looks like. What? Looks like I might have to do some learning in here. It's kind of weird to me that it's got... Oh, no, here's key map there. Okay. How does this work? So, does that mean if I'm on the span and I do the hotkey, it'll work? Oh, okay, so I think it's global, but it gives me some context in the method. This to hide. All right, I get context because I'm in. All right, I can think of a good example of where I would use this. Let's just say we want to search all of our to-dos, and so we want to have like, oh gosh, now I need to close some of these pages. Too much. I'm getting overwhelmed. Yeah, what if I want like a dialogue to show up at the top there when I say Control I, for example? Let me show you. So I actually do this sometimes for impersonations. When I want to impersonate people, I go Control I for impersonate, and a little menu shows at the top where I can then search for users. So we'll probably do this within Q layout. Man, at some point I'm going to have to teach people how to extract new components, but I'm not going to think about that for now. So let's have a Q select here. And v-show is equal to visible. And how about we say setup? And then we can say here const. Oh, visible is a bad word. Search to-dos visible, something like that. Search to-dos visible. And then that's going to be a reference. We've already got ref there. That will be false by default. And then, of course, we need to expose it. Otherwise, it's useless. All right. And now what you can do is you can do this awesome display mode where it basically shows up at the top of the page. So let's say quasar.dev. Jump into the v2 docs. Q select. Whoops. Q select. And there's different like display modes. No, it wouldn't be under options. It's probably under style, maybe? You'll see what I mean in a second once I show you. It's a really cool pattern for just searching for stuff on your page. Behavior. It's probably under behavior. How does this bad boy behave? We'll probably put an autofocus on it, but I'll do that in a second. Okay, it's this here. And then you can say dialogue. So you can say behavior dialogue. And how about we set that to true by default? Where is it? Oh, there it is there. It's done something weird. Man, I need to remember how to do this now. It's a really cool pattern when I do it right. Because I don't just want to show it. I think I also need to make sure that it is opened. Like that, like it's in drop down mode, if you know what I mean. And it also might not work if I put it there. I might have to like... No, so I needed to... All right, let's think this through. Basically, the Q select should be invisible. When it is visible, though, it automatically goes into like a drop down state. So maybe like maybe autofocus would help there. But this isn't even working when I click on it. Why can't I even click on this? All right, let's try putting it somewhere else and see if I can click on it. Maybe just like directly in there. Weird, it should be showing above the header. Let's refresh that. Oh, there it is there. So when I click on it, so when it, basically I want to then say, when I do this hotkey, imitate clicking on it and show it. But then we're going to make it searchable. Oh, this is going to end up being way too complicated. Yep. I'm just realizing this is a pretty advanced pattern. That's all right. That's why I do this, so that I can figure it out. Sorry, guys, you're not going to get to see how I do that, but I kind of just need to push on with what I'm focusing on for now. So, what's another example? Maybe we could just have like control T. No, control T is a bad example. Maybe Alt C to create one. Yeah, I think so. So let's go to this create button. Create. Okay, it's not in the main layout. Where is it? It's probably in index.view then. There it is there. And how about we use it there? V hotkey key map. And so basically we're saying this is what the key map is and this is what's going to be called. So we want to have, that's going to be under computed. Throw this in here. And let's change that to, so that's control, maybe control M. What does control M do by default? Nothing. So let's go ahead and use that. M for make, I'm thinking. Control plus M is going to say this dot, in fact, we can probably call this directly, handle create to don't clicked, but we'll have to change the name of that because it doesn't make sense anymore. All right, so there we go. We've got the key map, and it looks like it's doing something. Is that everything I have to do? If so, that's pretty cool. Type of null. Ooh, that doesn't look good. Okay, control M. And it did nothing. So I've done something wrong. This dot toggle, so it's calling a method. That is this dot toggle. So this should be calling that method. So let's just do a console.log as a sanity check. And see if that works. Here's our console, control M. Nope, that's not doing anything. So this is currently not working. What happens if I put this on the layout itself? On the page. Refresh this and try again. Still doing nothing. Let's dig a little bit deeper. We could try Alt just in case that's the problem. Control plus M. So let's try Alt. Might not like my combination there. Refresh the page just in case. Alt M. Still doing nothing. What else can we do? It's very possible that prevent will help. Alt M. Nope. If anyone has ideas, let me know. Yeah, I think it is being used in setup. Oh, we can. Are you asking? Can we use this in setup? We can definitely use this in a setup method. For some reason, I wasn't using it in this file. Maybe it was to make it more like beginner friendly. Yeah, I think I wanted to, for the most part, use the options API, since people getting started are probably still used to that, and it is still supported and a totally okay way of using Vue 3. So I didn't want to scare people away with in my getting started guide. I didn't want them to be like, oh, composition API, I'm out, sort of thing. And then maybe we'll, very slowly ease them into the composition API. Man, I don't know. Let's just check that I'm doing this properly. V hotkey. If I say that, it is refreshing the page. Oh, thanks, Jonathan. It's a really nice thing to say. All right. So maybe this needs to sit. What if I click on the page itself? Yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to get the feeling that this just doesn't work with Vue 3. Am I doing Alt there? Alt M? Yeah, Alt M. Still not getting any result. Let's get rid of prevent there, just so we're back to what we had before. Alt plus M. That's how they show it in the example, I think. Let's just try Control plus Escape, so we're using a kind of more exact example. Refresh the page. Control Escape. No, I'm not getting anything there. Oh, of course that works, because that's calling it when I press this button. Yeah, look, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to play around with this for too long. It looks like it's not working for me for some reason. And my biggest guess would be that it's because we're using Vue 3 here. Prevent. Stop. We could also try stop there. But it's feeling like I'm clutching at straws now. Nah. I remember in the past, whenever I wanted to do this kind of thing with Quasar, I just kind of had to do it globally. I think I had to create like a listener or something. Yeah, getting hotkeys to work with Quasar was not a walk in the park. And that's probably because of like just some bits and pieces that it's doing itself behind the scenes. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to skip it for this one. That's all right. Kind of bummed because it would have been cool, but it's not that important. We already have some examples for that. So let's just get rid of that. And maybe I'll try it another day to get that going. But it is not high priority for now. So let's push on. Close that, close that, close that, and close that. I'm probably going to take a break in a bit. Been at this for a little while now. So where were we at? Directives. I already showed how to do directives. That's going to be like a super short video. So I'm going to take a break. If you guys are interested, I'll probably come back in about an hour's time and start doing the Vuex part, because this is not going to be easy. This is going to be like, I have to find a way to make this simple. I don't want to overwhelm anybody, but also I want to give full examples. So, what's going on here? Let's just start that server again. Oh, it's because we're using that directive up here. Let's get rid of it. Yeah, because what I basically want to do is implement the entire functionality using Vuex ORM, and we'll be using actions and mutators. And then what I'm going to do is make it so that make it so that we can easily swap out those actions and mutators depending on the backend. So that later on in the series, when I start implementing different backends, we can just swap them out all over the place and it'll just work. So to begin with, we'll use the API I was talking about before, but then later on, we can then start sort of swapping that out. I don't even know what that's going to look like yet, to be honest. So if you want to come back in about an hour's time and sort of watch me mess around with that, then go ahead. I'm going to go eat some of those muffins that I made. And hey, thanks everybody for watching. If you like this kind of stuff, then check out quasarcast.com/register. Yeah, this is my site for all my Quasar videos. Currently all free content. And when you actually register there, it's going to take you to a page where I say, let me know what kind of a video you would like me to create. And this is great because it gives me a list of videos that I know people want to see in the community. And then I can sort of like knock over those one at a time. So if there's something like, maybe you're interested in Superbase and you want to know how to use Quasar with Superbase, then you could say that in the question on the next page. Or, I don't know, maybe like you want to know how to do advanced directives in Quasar or how to create your own Quasar extensions, that kind of thing. So whatever you're interested in, after you've registered, you can just let me know. And I save all that in a database so that I can sit it on a Trello board and go through them and just kind of like knock them out one at a time so that I make sure I'm creating stuff that the community actually wants. So yeah, check that out, quasarcast.com/register. Thanks so much for watching, and if you're keen, I'll see you